don't let Texas Tech off the hook for what happened this weekend, but don't let the national narrative about Texas Tech off the hook either. Okay? Those two things are very important. They're very different messages, and we need to address all of it after Texas Tech loses to Arizona State. The first thing here is that Texas Tech just needs to learn plenty of lessons. I heard Joey McGuire talking about, like, we'll see now how we react to actually taking some real adversity, getting punched for the first time this year. How will this team react to it? The good news is you're playing Oklahoma State, so I've got to believe that the early returns are going to be Texas Tech responds pretty well. But I mean, this was a bad performance. Like, I know that Texas Tech put together a 3-minute heater late in the game to actually take the lead after just being controlled the entire game by Arizona State. But this was not a good performance. Tech did not play well. It was the lowest offensive output in terms of total yardage since 2023. Some real just head-scratching individual moments. Like, and Joey McGuire, I know, fessed up to this in postgame that it was his fault. But 4th and 6, and you're running a speed option to the short side of the field. Like, what is that call? I know K-State fans were all looking around like, hey, man, first time. We know how that feels, but I did not expect that out of Texas Tech. And Joey said, like, that was he kind of overrode things there, and that was his call. Obviously, the Will Hammond thing is not where I thought it was going to be. He's got growing, maturing, developing to do. They got to figure out some way to get Will Hammond actually going early in a game, because every time he's come in, even the Utah game, it didn't just click like that. It took a couple of drives. Now, he put it into high gear quicker in that game than he did, obviously, in this one against Arizona State. But Kansas, it was a slow start, right? And at one point, I was sitting there saying, Texas Tech's in trouble, right? It got to the point where I even tweeted that. So Will Hammond has not been a fast starter. You got to find some way to help out your young quarterback, get his legs working, scheme something up to make it a little bit easier for him. And it really is not just, it's not even just his legs. It was like the passing game. Everything seemed really difficult. And I'm like, I know Tech has weapons. They've got receivers that can get open. I feel like schematically, they've got to figure something else better out for that, because this time you had more of an idea that it was going to be a Will Hammond game. So lots of lessons to be learned across the board for Texas Tech. I think we're also finding out that Tech, as mighty as they are, as deep as they are with talent, is also susceptible to injury issues. And if they start having a bunch of injury issues, they can be pretty human, much like the rest of everybody else. Terrence Carter Jr., their great tight end, who is tied for the FBS lead in touchdown catches for a tight end. He's on crutches, an ankle issue. Skylar Gill-Howard, we know, is now out for the rest of the regular season. Davion Howard, offensive guard, was like in and out. Baron Morton with his lingering injury issues. Like, you start taking out some key pieces. One is sort of the death by 1,000 cuts philosophy here or scenario here. It's like you take out one of those guys. Yeah, I mean, they can definitely survive. Skylar Gill-Howard, they've got a whole bevy of defensive linemen, but now you take away a key offensive lineman. Now you take away a tight end. Now you take away Baron Morton, and it's like, okay, well, now you've chipped away at a lot of stuff here. And this team is starting to show some wear and tear. Maybe not to the level of like an Iowa State, which took on a rash of those injuries. Worse. I mean, Iowa State's been hit worse, but took on a rash of those injuries and now doesn't really look like itself. There are some shades of that with Texas Tech here. Now, would it all be fine if Baron Morton were still playing and healthy? Potentially so. But that's part of the issue here. You knew you were rolling the dice with Baron Morton as your QB because that's been his career. He's always been a guy that's been hurt, okay? You knew that going in. And I think they were betting on, hey, we believe in Will Hammond, and I understand why. We've seen what the best of Will Hammond looks like. But they got to figure something else out with that right now because it's stuck in a rut. And so for that, the team, I think, has learned some valuable lessons. But the fans, Tech fans, I promised you I would save some of this for tonight, and I didn't get it to you as in-depth last night. But can we say that Tech fans, and look, I'll get to the national media too, I promise. I teased that at the beginning. National media needs to learn some lessons here about Texas Tech and some of the, dropping 7 spots in the polls. I'll get to them. All right. They're not innocent at all here, but Tech fans. Can we just level and say this was not a good week online for Texas Tech fans? Like, the amount of unearned arrogance that ballooned because of Tortilla Gate. I know it was a very vocal, probably minority of even the online fan base that took this on, but it was vocal, and it was spreading this attitude of, we are the cash cow in the Big 12. We are the dominant force. What? You can't be personally targeting us. This is stupid. We'll leave. Fine. We'll go to the SEC. As if the SEC invite had just been sitting in the mailbox. Sometimes I'm not always the best at bringing the mail in. The SEC invite had just been sitting in the mailbox forever. And you're like, well, whenever I want to not be lazy, I can just go pull that thing out of the mailbox, open it up, and there it is from good old Greg Sankey. Like, we can just hop over to the SEC. Guys, I think this is like a tale as old as time about ego and humility that we saw play out in front of our very eyes with Texas Tech fans this week. Like, okay, let's slow our roll. I'm not sure that Greg Sankey is going to be overly impressed with losing to a team that got beat 42-10 the week prior. But maybe I'm a little off on what Greg Sankey's sensibilities are these days. Tech, you've got a good team. I understand that when it's been 15 years since you've had a team like this that has the potential to be like double-digit win team, I get how it's like, hey, you get really excited, you get all in, you're already a program, rightfully so, with a chip on its shoulder. I've stuck up for you. I've defended you against some of the crazy accusations, not just from Lance Leipold, but over the years. I'm with you. I get why you have a chip on your shoulder. I get why you're excited about this team. But this is a lesson. This is a lesson in humility. Okay? You got to chill out. Because the most ironic part about it was the way that so many fans were acting there is exactly what a Texas fan would do. It is exactly what Texas did for 15 years while they weren't winning jack squat in the Big 12. They were acting like they had. And Tech fans, you guys, you got to go win something first. It was 6 games. I mean, that was eye-opening to me. You let 6 games get to your head that much? It's going to be a dogfight to win the Big 12 championship, Tech fans. It is, okay? And I still believe in you. More on that in a moment. But it's going to be a dogfight to win the Big 12 championship. Let's win one of those before thinking about the SEC or we're too good for this conference. I just chillax, man. Chillax. I've got your back. I like you guys, but that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. You need to calm down. I'm not trying to quote Taylor Swift, but you need to calm down. But here's the other thing I would say. I will also stand up for Tech and say it's stupid that you dropped 7 spots for losing by 4 with your backup quarterback on the road to a defending conference champion that is now ranked, and I think people understand is still pretty good. Like, Arizona State is still a pretty good team. Sam Leavitt was back. You lost by 1 score on the road with your backup quarterback. You're going to drop 7 spots? That's the Big 12 treatment right there. Like, had this been Alabama, had this been Oregon, right, it would not have been that big of a drop. And so, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a climb back in there. It's you have to work twice as hard to earn respect and credibility when you've got the Big 12 logo beside your name. Unfortunately, we kind of all know that is there. But I'm not giving up on Texas Tech. I don't think anybody should at all. Because Texas Tech still, with Baron Morton, we've seen the best of Tech is very good. And you can say, hey, they've played nobody. I just told you earlier, I think Houston's going to be a 9-win team. And they not only beat Houston, they clubbed them on a night where I didn't even think Tech was particularly sharp. They kicked, 7 field goals in that game? Tech is still a very good team. I still think they have the highest ceiling of anybody in the conference. And I think if you're a neutral observer of the conference, Tech is still like a best case scenario there. If they can go win the league, and then win playoff games, because I think they would have the best chance to win playoff games of anybody here. And if you can do that, that's the best case for the Big 12. And it sort of shows like, hey, if you get the money and you get someone smart in terms of how you distribute it and use it, you can actually go buy your way into the playoff and win playoff games. And in this era, that's good news for everybody. That is absolutely good news for everybody.